You gonna show me? You showing me around? Everybody's just standing around looking at the sky because there's supposed to be this big storm coming. And what better place to watch a storm than in the Badlands? I'm gonna drive up the road a little. I'm not patient enough to just like sit here and wait. So, it doesn't really seem like I'm gonna have to wait too long. Ooh, there's a flash. I've been here to the Badlands before. My ex and I came here on our honeymoon a million years ago, but our rental car broke down before we even got to the scenic loop. Everything I saw from a tow truck. But we certainly are not doing the scenic loop right now. The scenic loop is 40 miles long, and we're on it, but we just barely got on it when this insanity began. Wow! According to Dark Skies, this rain is going to continue for 15 minutes and then stop. So, quick storms like this happen a lot here. They come down fierce, wash away a bunch of sediment, and then they stop. And that uncovers all these fossils. This is one of the richest spots in the world for prehistoric fossils. The bus is really, really moving. Really rocking. It's getting pummeled. You hear this? It feels like hail. It didn't say it was going to be hail, but it feels kind of haily. Okay, it must be ending up the road a little because I'm seeing more and more people driving who seem to maybe think it's over. I can't see. There's no way I could see at all, even with windshield wipers, to get out of this. And you know how my little Mandy feels about windshield wipers. Still raining. Not like it was, though. You can actually see the sun. See, I can see blue sky over here. Do you see that blue sky? What'd you think? What'd you think about that? Makoshicha is the Lakota name for this place. It translates to badlands, named for the rough terrain. The history of the Lakota people is written all over this place. There are other associated tribes too. I'll put a list in the description. Oh, there's a bison. I wasn't going to stop. I was going to go straight to the campground, but he's right here. Oh my God, he's like a cat. He's scratching himself on that post. This is a little awkward. I feel like I'm watching something that's supposed to be private. Wow, look at that tongue. Back in the day, those tongues were cut out and sold as delicacies. There was a bounty on the hides, too. Oh, I probably shouldn't say that in front of him. Tomorrow, I'm going to go buffalo hunting. You know, not literally, of course. I mean, for one thing, they're bison. They're not even buffalo. The buffalo is a completely different animal that lives in Africa. Tatanka, that's the Lakota word. Now I'm headed to the only campground that's inside of Badlands National Park. It's a free first-come, first-served campground, and I want to nab a spot before it fills up. Hope they're going to let me into the campground because there's supposed to be an 18-foot length limit to stay there. Max is 20 feet. Hopefully nobody's going to be standing there with a measuring tape. Well, I'm glad I didn't stress out too much about the length requirement because there's some big vehicles here. There's actually a fifth wheel that looks like it's about 35 feet long, plus it has a truck pulling it. There's one guy who's in a little self-built trailer that's really cute. When you add a car to it, it's definitely longer than 20 feet. Yeah, Max is one of the smaller vehicles, so I'm not going to worry about it. The camping here is a little closer together than I usually like, but it's, you know, it's a nice communal feel. I found a spot on the other side of the loop that's pretty good. I have a tent neighbor behind me, but nobody in front of me until you get to the other side of the restrooms. Those tents are a group. They're all together. They're doing some kind of science project or something. I don't know. Something to do with the prairie dogs. Maybe tagging them or something, catching them and tagging them. These guys have a lot to say. Don't think they're very happy about the science project. Tomorrow is Tatanka Day. So I mentioned before that the U.S. government had a bounty on the hides. At the beginning of the 19th century, there were 30 million bison here. They went from Canada down to Mexico, New York to Oregon. They had roamed this country for 10,000 years, and they didn't disappear by accident. In the 1800s, the U.S. government embarked on a plan to eradicate the bison. They called them buffalo in all the official paperwork. Oh, there's one. So the herd's hanging out pretty far from the main road. Keep your eyes open. They might be hard to spot. Oh, wow. Not so hard to spot. So why would the U.S. government want the bison gone? Well, a little thing called manifest destiny. European settlers believed it was their birthright to expand control throughout the entire continent, and the native population who had been on this land almost as long as the bison, they stood in the way. Politicians at the time saw the eradication of the buffalo as the solution to what they called the Indian problem. The goal was to disrupt tribal life and control the population. See, the Lakota and other nomadic tribes followed the bison. They got food, blankets, clothing, fuel, all from the bison. The herd was an important part of spiritual life, too. A quote from Army Colonel Richard Dodge sums up the perspective at the time. "Kill every buffalo you can. Every buffalo dead is an Indian gone." But the bison were so resilient, the government was barely making a dent in the population until the railroads were built. On those trains came thousands of sport hunters from the east, often shooting right off the platforms and out the windows, littering the plains with thousands of buffalo carcasses. In less than 100 years, there were only about 300 bison left out of 30 million. And that was a devastating blow to the means of self-preservation. It allowed the Native Americans to be pushed onto the reservations. Life on this continent was forever reshaped by that. A big chunk of this park is tribal trust land, meaning it's held in trust for the Oglala Sioux people, the Lakota, by the U.S. government. And that seems a little ironic, you know, that the same government that set out to destroy an entire culture would be the ones entrusted with their land. I wish I had time to spend here and really dig into all this. There's just so much history here, but I have to move on. Traveling on a deadline, it's better than not traveling, but it's only a little bit better. I'll see you next time.